revision of course materials is a very complicated process, particularly when we are talking about the print form of course materials. With our limited experience at Stride in revising the programs of postgraduate diploma in distance education and MA in distance education, we have come across quite a few problems, issues in revising the materials, and these are academic in nature large extent, and some are operational and cost related issues. To discuss these issues, we have Professor Kaul with us, who will be dealing the issues related to the revision process. Professor Kaul was at IGNOU as a Pro-Vice Chancellor of Stride, Indira Gandhi National Open University. As a Pro-Vice Chancellor at Stride, he had given a shape to various activities and functions of the Stride. As a faculty at Stride, including me, we benefit from his guidelines and direction set at Stride. Professor Kaul at present is heading the Distance Education Center at University of West Indies. Sir, what is the significance of the revision process of the print materials in the open and distance learning?
Revision of course materials in distance education is a part of teaching and learning transaction. The idea is simple, that once you have prepared a course, the course does not live forever. Things change, data changes, theories change, application of those theories changes, and therefore education and the content of education keeps on changing. And in distance education, normally content gets compacted, whether it is print format or audio programs or video programs. They do not function like a teacher in the classroom who is live, because a live teacher can come next year and bring in new elements, changes, new data, new information, which becomes imperceptible, but he has already brought in new things. But in distance education systems where the matter gets compacted in book format or whatever other format, electronic or so, you have to revise materials from time to time in order to keep your materials up to date, in order to bring in changes that you need to change, and additionally in order to remove errors that might have occurred, that might have come in willingly or unwillingly into the materials that you have prepared.
Sir, as you rightly said, to bring in the new things and to remove the errors from the material, particularly once you have packed everything in the print form. It is not very easy to change the 10 courses of a program or a 5 courses of a program. How often should we go for a process of this kind?
Yeah. In the first place, one needs to look at the system you are following. Supposing your master medium is print, then there are certain industrial considerations and also academic considerations that you have to keep in mind. What do I mean by industrial considerations? Supposing the first print run was 10,000 booklets, and of those 10,000 booklets in a particular year you have used just 3,000. You are left with 7,000, and unless you use those 7,000 booklets, you can't go for a revision, because those 7,000 have been produced, they are there, money has been put in. And even if you wanted to kind of revise them, the finance department or accounts department will raise objections which are legitimate. They will then question how come you produce so much and now you want to change it, right? So when you talk of print as master medium, you have to take into consideration the industrial part when you want to revise it. The academic part is there, and if there are changes coming in soon, faster, then you can accommodate those changes in the form of supplements. You can retain those 7,000 copies, use them next year, but supply supplements. So in a sense, what I am saying therefore, that though revisions should come in almost every year, but if you are using the print as your master medium, you may not be able to do it every year. Then you have to fix a kind of schema for that and go on by degrees. Now, given the current situation, as we are moving on to modern technology, if your materials are on, let us say, on a disk, whenever you find an error, you can go to the disk, open your computer and make that correction. Of course, you may not be able to supply that because your material is perhaps packed in a certain way immediately to the students, but the process in today's technological context is that revisions can be incorporated simultaneously, side by side. Now, all having been said, obviously I am not talking of a major full revision in this case, right? But generally it would depend on the subject also. For example, there is a subject, let us say Indian economics. Now, in such a subject, data usually pertains to a year, because next year things might change. Now, in such subjects, you have to effect revisions more often than kind of you might do elsewhere. But there might be a subject like history, where you may not effect a revision immediately. The life of that kind of course could be longer. So, one factor therefore is the nature of the subject itself. The second factor is the industrial element involved, and the third factor is obviously the academic need. So, I wouldn't really kind of fix a time schema for that. Okay, after 5 years you should do it, after 2 years you should do it. It should be a continuous process. Now, it is only in case of a thorough revision, when you almost overhaul the whole course, that you can fix a time, and in fact that should be done more or less at the planning stage, that okay, this is the course which we have produced and we will allow it a life of 3 years, or we will allow it a life of 5 years. Having said that, you can even decide on then print runs accordingly. That is it.
I think Professor Kaur, quite a few things are interrelated. It is not that as you rightly said, that whether it is a 5 years period one can give for the revision, or a 1 year one can do it, and one has to take all the components which you have explained.
Exactly.
I think so one thing is that industrial aspect which you said, that I think okay, if depending on the subject, faculty and experts are aware of it at the planning stage itself, they can see that okay, the changes will be required when you are talking about the budget in the economic this thing, or a tax laws of that kind. So, naturally the print run, instead of going for a large amount of 10,000, I think that is important issue. I think and as you rightly linked up with the ones technology use, I think the technology is a very handy, particularly for the print form also. And then if you totally linked up, do you think that we can go frequent revisions?
Yeah, frequent revisions can usually be relatively small revisions. You see, you have come across a certain mistake, or you want to knock out a subsection somewhere. You can always do that. Put that, if you are using print medium, put that on an supplementary sheet and send that with the material next year, advising students that they can ignore page 10, and instead of the page 10 in the booklet, they can see this supplement. So, that can always be handled with the help of supplements, minor mistakes and bigger mistakes. In certain cases, you see, corrections, errata are associated or sent to students in the following year.
I think to put it quite a few things in a process or a stage wise, that where we can benefit out of that ones, Professor Kaul. Could you elaborate what are the major processes and the stages if one wants to attempt the revision?
Okay, let us look at this way. You see, the exercise of revising materials really starts when the production ends. That is, you have program A, you have gone through certain processes and the production is completed. So, you have your booklets on your shelves, you have your audio programs and video programs on your shelves. Now, as I said, production is complete, the material is in your hand, and the process of revision starts at that point. Now, whosoever is the coordinator of the course, he will naturally look into, he is eager to see what has been printed or what is available now, goes through that. On the third page, he may find a mistake, he should immediately jot that down. The process there is what is known as corrections file. Keep a file, and whatever corrections you need to make, you come across errors and all that, jot that down, keep a record of that. that will be done by the faculty. Then if you see program evaluation process is on and you have sent questionnaires to students and tutors, requested them that they should comment on errors and kind of misinformation or whatever needs to be modified, that should flow to you and to the faculty, so that records are kept and they are maintained. Then again I go back to the idea of program evaluation, that if that is being done and should be done during the pilot period, whatever emerges from that, those things also should be noted. There might be a certain section that usually happens in social sciences which is objected to by masses or a certain community, and you need to knock out that.
So that becomes an input to the.
That is all that is input from,
right,
you see,
program
what you call, yes, program evaluation into these things. You keep a record of that right from the beginning. And maybe next year, if your technology is up to date and things are on the diskettes, you can straight away bring in those changes. And depending on whether you are going for a major revision or minor supplemental revisions, you can accordingly use that. So in fact, your question was, where do we start? Yeah. You start revision, the process of revision, at the stage when the course material is produced. It is now at your hand. You may not have even sent it to students, but a conscientious academic will start going through that. The material may not have gone to the students, but he may already have identified 10 errors which he thinks should be corrected. Make a note of them, use that corrections file at the time you want to go for revision.
Yeah. I think this is bringing out an important component. I think whenever we plan that one, I think program evaluation I will give really the rich inputs to the revision process.
Yes,
I think
revision depends to a great extent on program evaluation. You see, revision is not just content, because I think so far what we are talking about was a focus on content. But revision is not just content. Maybe you would like to change the package. You can change and you can revise the package. Now what do I mean by that? Let us say your course package comprises print material in self-instructional format, a certain number of tutorials, a certain number of assignments, and whatever. I mean, maybe field study, video programs, audio programs. If program evaluation has done and you get feedback from all the concerned, tutors, public and students and your own faculty, you might think that some components are not needed. So you can even revise what we say the package. You may need to knock out, okay, in this case field study is not needed, or assignments of this kind are not useful, or of the 10 assignments that we gave, 3 are not good, we need to drop them. So you can change, you can revise the package also. So it is not just the content, but also the package that can be revised, and inputs got from any source are welcome.
Professor Kaul, with your wide experience with various other open learning systems in various countries, and of course with IGNOU and within India you have, is there any tested models for the revision process? If at all there are one, I think which one will be more suitable for the Indian context in general?
I think I would say that I am not aware of models, but what I am going to tell you immediately, you may see some models in them. One is in fact which we already talked about, that is once the course is produced, people work on it right from that point, and the inputs come from various sources, a conscientious academic, a student, a tutor, and even public. Right? So this is one way, and you keep track of those things, you incorporate those changes, whether through supplemental sheets or as a major component. The other way of going for a revision is usually through a commissioned analysis. That is, you appoint some scholars as a kind of special case to look into a particular course, and then they talk about the courses and the programs, the program which those courses make. They will tell you, okay, in this particular course these are the drawbacks, this can be added, that can be avoided, and so on. So you get a sort of commentary, a sort of, you see, kind of analysis of the materials from those experts, and then on the basis of those suggestions you then make a revision, you make changes. To my mind, these are the two major ways of doing what you call revision. One, through a commission survey of the program, where you pay to those people because they are not your components. You have gone outside the institution.
Like external evaluators.
Yes, external evaluators. And the other is which happens within the institution through a system of, I would broadly use the term program evaluation, through a broad term of broad expression or broad exercise of program evaluation.
I think with the experience which we got a limited way from the revising the materials for PGDD and MAD materials, I think we followed that method of I think used external evaluation in terms of a program evaluation. They have given their feedback, and in addition to that, what you explained, that various other inputs from the students and other things put together, I think that helped a lot in our.
Okay, I think I have some knowledge of that exercise. You see, the major reason that you had to use external evaluators in this case was really because the course or the program got internationalized. You see, the program was used not only in India, but it was used outside India. And the concern was that the specific Indian orientation to the program perhaps did not suit an international orientation. And since it was to be given an international orientation, it was given to international evaluators. And so they worked on it, pointed out wherever they felt that the orientation was local and things of that kind. So that sort of purpose can also be served. But you can do it with any program even within our own country. You don't have to go outside the country. You have a certain program A, you can invite people from University of Bombay, University of Andhra Pradesh or whatever. They can look into it and tell you something about the content which you can modify. But if you give it to conventional academics, they may not be able to talk about the structure of the courses, the format of the courses and the package that we give. And I think about package and about the kind of format, people in Stride or at the university in various faculties, they should be able to talk about it.
Professor Kaul, in the course of a minute back, I think we were talking about which one is the prime medium. I think it is the print or audio video in the total package of this thing. So in Indian context, I think including IGNOU, it is the print based material, the prime medium. I think keeping that as a view, so if an Indian scenario we are going for a revision, what are the serious problems or challenges we come across in the revision process and how to overcome that?
You see, basically if we follow the system, there are no challenges. I mean, I can be as dogmatic about this as I could. There are no challenges if you have planned it right from the beginning. If you have seen revision as your task. If you don't see revision as your task, then there are hurdles and hurdles, because then you say, oh, why should I be doing it? But this is why I, you see, use the term conscientious academic. That was my kind of emphasis and concern. I am not talking about academic. I mean, academic might kind of prepare a course and then forget about it. It has to be a conscientious academic who can look at a program, at a course within the faculty as his or her faculties, and therefore feels concerned that, okay, now this course has run for 1 or 2 years, we need to revise it. So basically I would say there are no hurdles. If there is any hurdle, if there is any constraint, it might be the weakness of the basic plan. Revision has to be integrated with the total plan of offering courses, so that you make room in terms of finances, you make room in terms of human resources that you will do, and you make room for any kind of technical input that is needed. Therefore, I wouldn't say there are constraints. The constraints might be only because of weak planning.
As you rightly said, the conscientious academic will have all those things taken into when he starts the revision and keep it ready. And another important component is, okay, you should have some sort of a broad schedule for the revision process, and then adhering to that one, because that is not easy. The day I complete a revision, I can simply offer, because it is linked with the logistics when you are going to offer the revised material, and because the previous group will be having the old material. So all those things, what do you see, sir, how one should go with the
you see, this is again, I think the answer is already there. It depends on your plan. You see, in the planned thing you state what is happening at what stage. A good example, again I do not know how much of that can be illustrated here, but you have worked on your own courses, diploma, postgraduate diploma in distance education, and then master's degree in distance education. If you recall how you moved through that, that should give you a good idea of the track. You see, at one time in the initial year, units went to students one by one. In the second year, they were in a book format, and only there were 12 books. And in the third and fourth year, the number they became 20, and that fourth year they became 25. The revisions were incorporated all through, and today your total programs, I think you have now 9 into 5. You have 45 blocks, right? And they came in not at one go. They came in stage by stage, and you adjusted that with what kinds of students. Effort has to be made. Students of year X will work on this. For them, assignment A is there. Students of X plus 2 will work on this. For them, assignment B is there. You go through that. That is the planning part. That is how it has to be done.
So, there is Professor Kaul, it is some specific thing. What I am asking is, with the experience Stride got by revising the materials of PGDD and MADE programs, if you want to give some inputs to other colleagues in the at IGNOU and other faculty, what way?
How might you do that?
How might we do
that? The best thing is to prepare a case study, right? That is revision of these programs. Make a case study. What happened? Why was this revision seen as a necessity? Then what were the constraints? What happened as far as funding was concerned? Who did what? Narrate that. And then talk to people about that, a case study. That could be one, and again I go back to the same PGDDE and then MADE, how they grew. Make a case study of that over the years and give examples how the first version was different from the second, how the second version was different from the third, how the third version was different from the fourth, and how transaction could take place. I mean, at times the second version was still on with older students when the third version was given to the new set of students, and there were occasions when 3 versions were handled simultaneously, and that was imperceptible because it was planned that way. Nobody knew what was happening, but it was happening.
As you rightly said, it's I think
planning is important. Planning is important, and as you said that how to convey this experience, I think the best way is to prepare these 2 case studies and show how it is done. Right.
I think some of the colleagues are of the view, like it's a conventional system. It's the syllabus is changed, so the new component is given to the teacher so that he used to explain in the class. And here also, by changing the one block or adding the supplement, as you said that can take care of the revision. I think with our experience, it says that is not the case unless
you see that supplement takes care of immediate needs.
A limited,
limited thing. You see, you talk of a thorough overhaul, a complete revision and a minor revision, and in this case, though that is not strictly speaking under revision, withdrawal. At times you may have to withdraw a course completely, but that is not the theme right now. But these are the, you see, minor revisions, major revision, withdrawal. We are not talking of withdrawal right now. Minor revisions you can manage through supplements and other things, but a major revision, thorough revision has to be complete.
Professor Kaul, you have explained in detail the various processes involved in the revision of the course materials and what are the various sources that can give inputs for the revision process. These are the very important process. 1 or 2 which are emerging is, one is the preparation or a clear-cut room for the revision purposes one should make in the beginning of the program planning itself. And another major factor is that is the program evaluation of the each program or each course which give it as input. Thank you very much, sir, for the valuable inputs. This will help not only our students of the various programs and the faculty at IGNOU and Stride. Thank you very much. You have listened from Professor Kaul what are the various components of revision and various stages involved, and the sources for revision comes from different quarters. Starting, one of the important thing is program evaluation. If one is really interested, one should look at that program evaluation. We have a separate program on that one. The inputs which are coming from that will be very useful for the revision of any course or a program. I hope you all will benefit from this program. Thank you very much.